business to ensure safety during the construction workday. So construction risk examples. When it comes to communication towers, they can be very dangerous. Employees often have to climb the towers using ladders, support structures, or step bolts. And OSHA works with industry stakeholders to identify the causes of these industries and fatalities to help reduce the risk so it doesn't happen again. When it comes to confined spaces, the OSHA's permit required is intended to protect workers from possible engulfment or entrapment. And under this rules, employee must first identify each required confined space. Second, prevent unauthorized entry into these spaces. Third, protect authorized entrance from hazards through the space program. For forklifts, OSHA estimates 11% of these operating this machinery are involved in accidents every year. OSHA's Powered Industrial Truck Standard requires operators receive training on formal instruction, practical instruction, and that they have performance evaluations for their operators. For demolition, everyone at the worksite must be aware of these hazards: structure design changes, modifications that alter the design of the buildings, materials hidden in the structure such as lead or other chemicals or heavy metals that they may find when they begin to do the demolishing, and hazards created by the demolition method. So when it comes to fall protection, there can generally be prevented by the use of guardrail systems, safety nets, and personal fall harnesses, which I'll show you later. And OSHA refers to these systems as conventional fall protection, and they are required to be worn by employees on top of roofs or buildings at any time to protect their safety and get rid of the risk. So nail gun is an often common risk that happens, and one study found that 2 out of 5 residential carpenters experience a nail gun injury over a 4-year period. Some steps OSHA recommends to prevent these injuries is to provide training on nail gun work procedures, personal protective equipment, and encourage reporting and discussion. So backover incidents occur when a vehicle backing up strikes a worker. OSHA often recommends that drivers use a spotter to help them back up the vehicle, or video cameras with in-vehicle display monitors. And there are also proximity detection devices such as radar and sonars, which will alert the driver when they get too close to an object. So in case the scenarios previously discussed occur, OSHA will conduct construction incidents, investigations, and engineering reports. And their goal is to help all involved in construction to learn from what caused these situations and how this information will help prevent future incidents and serious injuries. So OSHA requires you to protect your workers from potential hazards in the workplace operation. Personal protective equipment, PPE, reduces employee exposures to hazards, and these are some examples. There's protective glasses, earplugs for hearing protection, fall protection harnesses, reflective safety vests, and hard hats, which you most commonly see in construction. So one of my good friends is actually in the engineering program at TCNJ, and they often travel to many construction sites for class. And she said there's only often 1 to 2 women, if that, in her class. And when they go to the construction sites, there's hardly any. So women face many obstacles in construction, one being isolation, them being the only female on site. Some other obstacles they face are hostile workplace, remarks of physical assault, sexual harassment, reported touching, comments, and gestures from male coworkers. Job insecurity, they're vulnerable to losing their jobs, and they're less reluctant to report safety hazards or harassment. So as you can see, the number of women employed in the U.S. construction industry grew substantially by 81.3% from 1985 to 2007. However, due to a loss of 2.5 million construction jobs from 2007 to 2010, there has been a sharp decline of women working in construction. So as you can see, there are many risks and regulations that OSHA implies in the construction industry. And now Brandon will talk to you about OSHA violations and bunts.
Thank you, Joanne. Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Brandon, and like Joanne said, I'm going to be talking to you guys about how OSHA can relate to you guys here at Rowe. And we're actually going to be talking about mainly Bunts Hall, because this building is like one big giant OSHA violation. I honestly don't know how it's still standing, to be honest with you. And I do apologize, I'm a little bit sick, so just please bear with me. So, Bunts Hall, it looks very pretty from the outside, but the inside is like far from it. I would describe Bunts as the epitome of decrepitude. Built in 1923, Bunce holds the record for the oldest building on campus, and back then OSHA didn't even exist, so there's bound to be some safety problems. So here up on the 3rd floor in a classroom we have loose and torn up carpeting. So this obviously can create a potential tripping hazard. Someone can trip and hit their head on a desk or fall out the window or something. So it obviously has the potential to cause serious personal injury if it's not properly dealt with. OSHA would see this and deem this as an unsafe work environment. So staying in the same vein, this is on the 1st floor. Again, we have uneven flooring, which again presents a tripping hazard, and it looks kind of gross if you ask me. OSHA standard 1910-22A2 states that places of employment, passageways, and storerooms shall be kept clean, orderly, and in sanitary condition. This is not very clean and orderly or sanitary. So did you know that OSHA actually recommends a working space temperature of 68 to 76 degrees Fahrenheit? If temperatures are extremely above or below this, it creates an uncomfortable work environment and a worker can actually file a complaint. I know Professor knows what I'm talking about because the offices on the 2nd floor are like saunas. So you may be thinking, like, that's easy, just open up a window, right? Sure, open up a window, but grab the nearest solid object and wedge it in there as fast as you can before those heavy windows come crashing down on your fingers. Seriously, I've seen cups, rocks, and I've even seen a chair get to prop that window open. It can cause potential injury, and it just creates an unsafe environment. So, built in 1923, it's not a stretch to assume that lead paint was probably used in the painting of Bunce. Lead paint does crack in a pattern similar to this if you can see it. I don't know if this is lead paint or not. I didn't get out my home testing kit and test it myself, but you never know. Prolonged exposure to lead paint includes headaches, anemia, and difficulty sleeping. So if that's not enough, you've also got the potential mold and the water-damaged ceilings on every floor of this building. OSHA standard 1910-134A1 deals with exposure to harmful fumes, gases, and other dusts. Prolonged exposure to mold includes asthma, allergies, and other respiratory illnesses. So here we've got a loose ceiling tile again on the 1st floor. I don't even need to tell you how this is unsafe. You know, it's an easy fix too. It could fall down, it could leave the wiring and the ductwork up top exposed, and I don't know if you guys know this, but just a few weeks ago in Savage, this actually happened where the ceiling came crashing down and they had to hold class somewhere else. So here we have trash that's left out in the hallway. OSHA standard 1910-141A4 deals with the proper waste removal. Trash like this should be properly disposed of instead of being left in the hallway. Now if it was in the middle of the hallway, it'd be a little bit of a bigger issue just because it's restricting the movement, but it's kind of off to the side, so we'll give them a pass. OSHA standard 1926-250A3 says that aisles and passageways shall be kept clear to provide for the free and safe movement of equipment and employees. Areas like this should be kept in good repair, and clutter that's left out in the hallway should be put away safely in storage or thrown out altogether. This was taken on the 2nd floor. Here we have an open supply closet in SB Gym. OSHA standard 1910-141A2 states that a material is toxic when the concentration constitutes a recognized hazard that is causing or likely to cause death or serious physical harm. Open closets allow access to the hazardous chemicals inside. So this is actually in the 1st floor men's room, and it's another supply closet. As you can see, it is unlocked. It is allowing me or really anyone else to access the contents inside, and really only authorized personnel should be accessing those things. In addition to that, the chemicals inside need to be properly labeled to avoid harmful contact or contamination. So here we have some exposed wires. OSHA standard 1910-303B1 states that electrical equipment shall be free of any recognized hazards that have the potential to cause harm. Now these wires, they are exposed, but these aren't going to cause harm to anyone. But one should be aware of dangling or loose wires or wires run along the ground as they present a tripping hazard. So OSHA standard 1910-157C1 deals with the proper accessibility and storage of fire extinguishers. Leaving the door open like this creates a whole misuse situation and makes it easier for anyone to use that when they really shouldn't be. In addition, fire extinguishers need to be inspected at least once per year by a professional to ensure safe operation. Staying in the same vein, here we've got an open circuit breaker. OSHA standard 1910-304F1 states that fuses and circuit breakers shall be located or shielded so that employees will not be burned or otherwise harmed by their operation. Again, leaving the door open creates a whole misuse situation, and only people with the proper knowledge should be operating a circuit breaker. So I actually have a story about my old job at Panera Bread. Now, I wasn't here when this happened. This was a weeknight after closing, so it was like 10:30 p.m. 3 employees were leaving, and they saw that the ladder that led up to the roof of the building was actually unlocked. There was a door on it, and you could lock it and unlock it. So they thought it'd be a good idea to go up to the roof and take pictures and post on social media. Well, a corporate Panera bigwig guy saw it on social media, and he was not very happy, because it was very unsafe for them to be up there. There was dangerous and expensive equipment, and if they would have gotten hurt, it would have been on Panera. So, rightfully so, those 3 employees were fired the very next day. Another thing we were guilty of at Panera was kind of waiting a little bit too long to take the trash out to the dumpster. So there would be this mountain of trash blocking the back door. Not this bad, obviously, but you get the point. So that's bad because it effectively blocked our fire exit, and if we would have gotten any sort of inspection from a fire marshal, we would have failed like immediately for that. So luckily, we don't have to deal with the unsafe and uncomfortable conditions of Bunce Hall for much longer, because we are getting our new business building in the spring. I, for one, I know I am excited to get out of this old and smelly building and get at least 1 semester in the new building. So out with the old and in with the new.